Warning, this podcast contains sexual content, graphic language, and bodily functions. Get over it.
I'm Heather Ann Gottlieb, and this is Dirty Girl, the podcast that shares stories from real women about their disgusting habits, taboo secrets, and unruly pastimes.
Fart, burp, queef your little heart out. It's not a girl thing. It's not a boy thing. It's not a woman or a man thing. Everybody has a body, and it's disgusting, and we all just need to accept it and love it.
How can we take this to the next level of disgusting?
I've wanted to shave my head since high school. I always thought I would look and feel just so super sexy, and that I could totally pull it off. And a few months ago, I decided that it was time. I'm gonna do it. I started floating the idea around, telling my coworkers and friends that I was planning on taking the plunge, and my gay friends and female friends all totally supported the idea. However, most of my straight male friends were horrified. No, you can't do that. No, ew, that's gross. Oh, why would you do that? Oh, no, just no, you can't do that, no. As if I was asking for their permission. But I did it. I shaved my head. And all the men that raised concern about my potential appearance decided, oh, Heather, you look great with the shaved head. Oh my gosh, you are still totally fuckable. Uh-huh. Let me just say, of course I'm still fuckable. All you have done is cemented yourself as unfuckable to me. Today's episode, putting the fuckin' in Fuck the Patriarchy. Stories about men being idiots about sex, slut-shaming, and how we're just fucking done with it. We'll hear one woman tell us about a few different bizarre hookup experiences, and another talk about being shamed for something that everyone does, hooking up at a wedding. It's a feminist fuckfest this week on Dirty Girl.
Like one time I was giving a blowjob to this guy. He had a huge penis. It was massive. Like you couldn't really do anything with it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. It's just like, oh, this is happening.
It's like, please come. Like, yes. I'm so sick of this being in my mouth.
I don't know why he thought this was a good idea, but he pushed on my head. I was fully sober. But I just like,
I hate that.
I couldn't do it and I threw up. But he didn't realize I had thrown up. Because it wasn't, like, a ton. It wasn't, like, Exorcist. But enough for it to be called, like, not gagging. Like, I threw up on him. You know, I just did what I think any good person would do. And I just, like, slurped it back up real fast.
Did you continue the blowjob?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Did he come?
I think so.
Do you like when guys push on your head?
No. Like, keep your man paw off of me.
Your penis is in my mouth. Be fucking grateful.
I'm tired of dating guys that are like, yeah, I just don't really go down on girls. It's not really my thing. I'm like, oh my God, get out of my life and my house. I had the worst sex of my entire life in February. I was away for work. I met this guy on Tinder through work, and I was like, cool. I was across the country. I was like, this will be great. We meet up for drinks, and we're talking, and then at one point, this should have been a red flag, but he was like, so why did you want to meet me here tonight? And I was like, really? Like, you know why? Like, we know why we're here. I'm not going to feed your ego. And then he's like, so do you want to go up to my room? Do you want to leave? And I, like, had a moment. I was like, maybe I do want to leave. Maybe I don't want to do this. And I was like, no, I really want to have sex. It's been a while. Because at the beginning of this year, I was like, no sex for 2017. I'm just going to, like, try a thing. Maybe I'll write a book. Maybe I'll find out stuff about myself. And that lasted, like, a couple months.
Yeah.
So I go up to his room with him, and I'm like, this is going to be good. This will be fine. And he's taking his coat off and stuff. And then he comes up to kiss me. This is the first time he's ever kissed me. And this is what he says before. And I was, like, really thrown off by it. He just goes, I'm sorry. And then he goes in to kiss me. And I was like, what? We start making out. We start getting naked, all the things, you know. And as I started to go down on him right before my mouth is about to hit his penis, he goes, wait, you're, like, clean, right? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. Are you good? Cool. We're both good. Awesome.
So I gasp in the middle of this, and I just want to make it clear I'm gasping because of how this conversation happened, not because it happened. I'm always happy to see these conversations taking place. It's so important to have direct conversations with sexual partners. It's just the way he brought it up that really offended me, just putting it all on her. And the way he asked was so belittling and somewhat accusing. He didn't really give room for her to ask the same question back. It's as if he was proclaiming he was quote-unquote clean and she wasn't.
He starts fingering me in a way that I can only describe as, like, a preteen learning how to play the guitar who's dropped his pick in it, and he like desperately needs that pick back. It was like being excavated. I should have just been like, hey, that hurts, please stop. But instead I was trying to, you know, be like, hey, less pressure, hey, let's move on to other stuff. And he's like, no, not until you come. And I'm like, I am not going to come from this. It hurts. And so by the time we even started having sex, I was like, I can't enjoy it. My vagina has been fully desensitized by this process. I even said to him, I was like, hey, it's not going to happen. Let's just move on or be done or whatever. And he goes, no, you're about to, I can tell. And I was like, no, you cannot tell. You cannot tell.
He mansplained your orgasm?
Yes. He was like, no, I can feel it. And I was like, really? Because I can't feel anything. My vagina's fully numb. So I remember going to the bathroom, and as I like sat on the toilet to pee, I like looked down. I was like, because it just looked like the noun that came to mind was like chewed up bubble gum. Just like puffy and gross. And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to myself and to my vagina for this experience. And then I just didn't have the heart to tell him that he was the worst experience of my entire life. And I'm like, God willing, no. Like, never again. Like, sometimes I won't remember people, but I'll be like, you know, I'm pretty sure it was okay. It was good. It was like pizza. You know, you can't really fuck up pizza.
Oh, yeah.
This was, like, not even Italian food. Like, I don't even know what the hell happened to me there. I consented to all of it. It was fine, but it was not good.
So much for not fucking up pizza. Sex ed should include pleasure. We have nerve endings on our genitals that cause pleasure, therefore, sex is pleasurable.
Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the vaginas and the penises that can be touching each other.
I had a guy once go down on me so hard. He made me bleed. Like, he hickeyed my vagina until it bled.
Oh my God.
And he's like, oh, did you get your period? And I was like, no. And he sucked until it like he bit me, but it was like, I don't know how to explain it. And my poor little coochie. I like to think now as an adult woman I could be like, no, stop, that hurts. But it is hard to say it in the moment. It really is.
It's also, I think, really ingrained in us to be polite, you know? Yeah. It's like not to hurt feelings. And also, it's a little scary to think about, like, well, what if this turns bad?
There's so many reasons why people have trouble communicating during sex. But there are even more reasons why women in particular feel like they can't ask for what they want. Many women feel like they have to be gentle as to not hurt a man's ego because he could get violent. And it feels like we have to endure something that's not pleasurable or even painful because we fear repercussions. Sex is sold as male pleasure oriented. Do you know how many magazines I read growing up with how to please your man as the main cover story? Women may not know they can speak up during sex or even feel empowered to do so. I'm sorry, I know this is all heteronormative. I just had to get it off my chest.
I have this one guy. The last time I was with him and saw him, I was like, so what are you into? And he's like, so I like it really slow. He's like, it's going to feel meaningful and emotional, but it's not. And I was like, okay, like, you are really kind of fucked up. Like, it's fine for me. I don't live near him. I don't have to deal with the repercussions of that. But I know he sees a lot of girls. And then he's always like, why is this girl outside of my house carving her initial? They think you're beautiful and you're in love with them, when really you're a little sociopath. Oh my God. You know, I was talking about the worst sex I've had. This was the weirdest sex I've had.
Yeah.
He was just like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, he was really into, like, spanking and stuff. And I don't mean, like, an ass slap or whatever. I mean, like, bend over my knee kind of spanking. And I was super drunk at the time. So I was like, yeah, whatever, let's do it.
He wanted to be spanked?
No, he wanted to, like, spank me. And I was like, fine, let's do that. That's fine. And then he's like, say these things. And I'm like, all right, I'll say those things. Cool. Leaving that place afterwards, I was just like, that was weird. That was weird. He was like, hey, do this, do that. And I said something like, yes, sir. And this was, like, at first. And he, like, grabbed my face and, like, deep into my eyes. And he's like, how did you know to say that? And I was like, say what? And he's like, you You said yes, sir. And I'm like, that's just a thing people say when they're told to do stuff occasionally. But he acted like it was a secret password and this weird sex colony thing that he was like, had learned from. I don't know. I don't know the full extent. I'm sure I would have found out later what all of that meant. Didn't get the chance, though. Now I am shunned from their broship island. But I still think about that sometimes. And I'm like, it was good, but it was weird. I did not realize I had signed up for that.
I love Broship Island.
Yes. You know, where it's just a bunch of dudes complaining like, why don't girls like me? But then they're dicks to girls. And then they're like, still don't get why girls don't like me. Wait, gotta block one real fast. Anyway, back to why girls don't like me. I'm such a nice guy. Ugh. I know. My friend calls them neckbeards.
Fact. The number of times a man tells a woman to smile is inversely proportional to their ability to get laid. This is the bridesmaid. Her real name. She's got a pretty good story.
Last Labor Day weekend, my best friend from college was getting married. And I was a bridesmaid in the wedding, and it was, like, a huge deal because it was the wedding of, like, two people who have a lot of shared mutual friends. So it was, like, sort of a cesspool of who's hooked up with who, but now sort of everyone's in couples. And I had just a lot of anxiety going into the wedding because I was going there single. I came in to this wedding, like, kind of hot, feeling like I had something to prove. It was also my birthday on the day of the rehearsal dinner, so I was a little bit upset about that because even though I'd known these people for a really long time, almost no one remembered that it was my birthday, and I couldn't very well be like, hey, it's my birthday, on, like, the day of my best friend's rehearsal dinner. You know, it's
That's
like...
so 16 Candles.
It's exactly what it's like.
Aww.
I arrived at this wedding. It's a super fancy wedding in Watch Hill, Rhode Island. So there were about, like, 4 single people in total, and I was one of them. Obviously.
Doesn't that just put a huge target on you?
It does. Lots of eyes were on me, on my back, wondering what was going to happen, who I was going to... Because obviously something was going to happen. My friends know me pretty well. Whatever. But the problem was... well, no. I'll get there. The night of the wedding comes. Spirits are high. And I didn't have a good time the 2 nights previously. So I was like, you know what? Tonight, like, I'm going to get drunk. I'm going to have fun. Whatever. So I start crushing gin martinis, which I never usually drink. I just was, like, trying to go from, like, 0 to blackout so I could just dance and have a good time. All of a sudden, I find myself in conversation with the best man, who is the groom's little brother, who I had met a couple of times before, but didn't really, you know, he's hot and everything, but, like, didn't think much of. And I was pretty drunk at this point, and we were dancing a little bit, and he was like, do you want to go down to the beach? I was like, yeah, I do. So we went down to the beach, started making out pretty aggressively. He, like, picked me up and wrapped my legs around his waist and then started fingering me underneath my bridesmaid's dress, which was floor length. So it was, like, really hiked up. He was sort of, like, wading into the ocean. It was a whole, like, it was a very dramatic scene.
Oh, you were in the water?
We were in the ocean. So the bottom of my dress was wet. Shit was just getting sloppy, like, right off the bat.
That's like borderline sexy sloppy.
So sexy sloppy. And he's, like, big and tall and strong, so I was like, okay, wedding weekend, turning around, here we go. So we're having a good time, we're down there for a while, and it is his brother's wedding after all, so he's like, I think we should go back up to the reception. And I was like, okay. And we're walking back up, like, 20 feet from the tent. I just, like, slap his ass really hard, and I'm like, I will find you later. We get back inside. I drank way too much more, and at that point I was, like, teetering on the verge of, like, actually being blackout, which I never really, like, this was a special occasion. I'm like 29. It's like I'm sort of past my blacking out days, except for times when I'm just trying to, like, actually forget about what's happening. I mean, everyone's definitely fucked up. Like, it's a partying crowd. Mostly everyone was on tons of coke, I'd say. Like, they're very, like, New York City, like, baker crowd, so they were just, like, lit in a different way. I was just sloppy. So the next thing I know, we have changed venues and we're at the after party, though I don't really remember how we got there. And this was, like, the same, it was now inside the hotel, so it was, like, a smaller room, and it was the I suppose whatever was happening in the tent, like, wrapped up, the band ended, and then, like, someone was like, this is We Go Here Now, but I just, like, don't really remember how we got there. But anyway, there's a DJ, the dance floor is, like, all lit up, things are popping, and there's just, like, people are taking bottles of alcohol and, like, pouring it down people's throats. It's, like, it's turned into a club at this, like, fancy hotel. Like, I can't tell you how funny it was.
So she's back at the wedding, and she ends up vibing with this different guy. And that's totally fine.
We start making out. He's cute also. One of the other single people.
2 for 1 special.
Oh, you can eat cock.
And we're having a good time, whatever. We're down there for a while. Same exact spot, mind you. I'm just finding myself in the exact same situation. Swap guy. Somehow. So, anyway, we're like, at some point I realized that this is, like, maybe not a great idea, and I'm like, all right, let's go back up to the party. But he had put his jacket around my shoulders, and the first guy sees us walking back up the hill with the second guy's jacket over my shoulders, sorry. And he's like, what the fuck? And I was like, I don't know. So then there's an after party. Yeah,
there's 3 parties?
There are 3 parties, yeah. So we get to the after party, and I go with the second guy. The first guy presumably left, being like, fuck off and die, and goes to the party. So I arrive with the second guy. And at this point, I'm, like, so drunk. The first guy starts, like, slut-shaming me a little bit, which I was really annoyed by. He was like, I was like, what? It's not like we, like, fucked on the beach and then I went and fucked somebody else. Like, relax. Like, yes, okay, it wasn't that great of a performance, but, like, don't look at me like that. And he would just kind of give me a hard time about it that I really didn't like, and it's fucking psychotic. But I took my phone and wrote him a Facebook message from across the party, being like, I do not appreciate. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea, because we weren't friends on Facebook. So this went to his, like, mysterious
His
outbox.
other folder?
Yeah. Which was, like, I'll get there in a second. Anyway, I'm, like, looking at him from across the party, being like, fuck you. Typing it on my phone. Send it, not worrying about how much I'm going to regret that later, and eventually leave the party with the second guy. Who I brought back to my motel, because I obviously was not fancy enough to stay in the big hotel where the wedding was, because, oh my god, right, yeah, so there's this, like, silly motel that was down the street where we were all staying, and the second guy, fucked the second guy on the roof of the pool house, and because it was, like, a wedding, stakes were high, no one was that prepared, like, no condom, which is gross, and I should not have done that.
Wait, do you know how you got on the roof of the pool house?
No, it was just there. It's like 5 a.m. at this point, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna get home, because, like, there were secondary residences, like, down, like, 2 miles away, which is where my actual room was. There was, like, the main hotel and a pool room, and then, like, the cottages. So I'm, like, looking around, and he's like, you can come stay in my room with my parents. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I mean, there's, like, a twin bed. I was like, you know what, thanks, no thanks. And I looked over to the left, and there were a bunch of bikes parked down there, so I just was like, fuck it, and went down and stole a bike and just tore off into the night in my bridesmaid's dress, riding it down the street. Fell asleep for 2 hours, woke up with the anxiety, that, like, a crushing force of anxiety, being like, oh my god, what have I done? Like, not only did I cause a huge stir, which I found out later that the 2 guys that I fucked around with were roommates in New York City. Didn't know that. That was a fun detail to find out in the morning. Obviously, no condom means, like, get an STD test immediately. So I stroll into one of those, like, City MD clinics, and with no shame at all, was like, hello, I need an STD test. And they were like, okay. And the guy who was helping me was kind of looking at me, like, also judging me a little bit. And I was like, well, wouldn't it be worse if I wasn't getting one? Like,
were you still in your bridesmaid dress?
No.
Oh.
No. But I was, like, it was a couple days. It was 2 days later.
Wait, why is he judging you? That really bothers me.
Well, right. So he just looked at me kind of like, whoa. You know, it was like, wow, that's a lot. You're coming in hot here. And I was like, this is a fucking medical clinic. Like, relax.
Fuck off.
So he takes me into the back room. He's, like, preparing the test. And for some reason, I feel the need to, like, justify it. So I was like, well, you know, I was at a wedding last weekend. And as soon as I said that, his whole demeanor changed. And he was like, oh, as if that somehow made it okay. And he turns back around and, like, continues to prepare the test. And he's like, you know, going to a wedding myself this weekend. And I was like, oh, well, good luck to us both then. That was the end of that. Propriety is still very much a thing, like, especially from women. Like, my friends who are almost 30 are still, like, trying to keep their numbers low about, like, how many guys that they're fucking if they're not in a relationship. And I'm just like, who is counting? You? Your boyfriends? Like, why does it matter? And it's very much like you're only a lady if you keep your legs together. You know? It was like, I could be as slutty as I wanted with him, but if I was slutty with anyone else,
Right.
it was not okay. And I'm like, okay, wait, whoa, what the fuck is that mentality? Like, yeah, of course you want me to be as slutty as possible with you, but, like, the second it's a question of, like, ownership.
Right, it's
Like,
definitely ownership.
And also, ownership, like, this is the second or third time I've ever met you. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
You know? Everyone at that wedding had fucked each other, pretty much. Some of them while married to other people. Some of them had fucked people there and then, like, gotten married a few months later. Like, the cheating, the garbage that went on behind the exterior was so strong and, like, so intense, but then, like, I was just a little bit too drunk, like, fooling around with two of the single guys who happened to be roommates, and because it was, like, a little bit more public, it was like, you know, like, my friend, the bride, didn't care. She thought it was hilarious, like, especially the part about me stealing the bike. It was like, she was just like, oh my god, I'm just picturing you, like, riding off into the 5 a.m., like, sunset, and with your, like, dress trailing behind you, like, this is excellent. No worries. Like, she didn't care at all. But I got some, like, whoa, you know, and I was like, shut up. Like, no one feels worse about it than I do.
Yeah,
you know?
fuck off.
Fuck off.
Did people, like, comment to you about it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What did they say?
They were just like, wow, heard you had a big night. You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or like, there she is. You know, it was like I was that guy at the wedding. And I was like, okay, fine, but, like, fuck off also. And I did it. I did it, like, defiantly. I know somewhere deep down I was like, I don't care what any of you think, you know? So I did whatever I wanted, but I'm not sure that was the best approach in the end. And it's not even that bad. Like, I didn't fuck both of them, even, you know?
Right. And even if you did, that's allowed.
I know.
That's
It's
fine.
a wedding. Relax. As the STD technician reinforced, at weddings anything goes.
Always a bridesmaid, always slut-shamed.
Fuck the patriarchy. You heard? Fuck the patriarchy.
Dirty Girl is a podcast that you just listened to. It's produced by myself, along with Cameron Tagge and Alex Salem. You can find us on Instagram at Dirty Girl Pod. I post a shitload of uber feminist stuff. You'll love it. We're also on Twitter and Facebook with the same handle, but Instagram is the best one. I'm Heather Ann Gottlieb. See you next time. Until then, queef in a mouth.
Alright, bros, welcome to Kappa Beta Beta Island. I will be your orientation leader, Chet. Just want to let you know, on this broship island, bros come first. Alright, couple of ground rules before we get started. Number 1, no fishing past 9 p.m. Number 2, bros before hoes, should be unwritten. Number 3, bro in need is a bro indeed. Number 4, always say goodnight to your bunk bro. Rule number 5, live streaming in the designated areas only. Number 6, keep your chubbies above the knee. Number 7, please see your information guide for an appropriate list of social media hashtags. And rule number 10, the chick's cabin across the lake is off limits. And the golden rule, if you're stranded on an island, welcome home, bro.